And I think, I think about the skills. There's places to get skills, and the older technicians have built their skills over the years, and the younger technicians are kind of working on their skills, and that kind of takes time and just practice and continue to work at it. I don't think we provide the technicians necessarily with the right tools all the time,
Mm.
whether that be a specific tool or the right tool for the job. The resources as far as the information that goes, and they might have the skill set to do it, but we don't give them the knowledge to do it by not giving them the proper, whether it's access to the OEM procedures, whether that's better training on the tools, equipment, products that they're working on. And then again, it's a combination of different things.
Hello, and welcome back to today's episode of the Body Bangin podcast. And you guys are out there wondering, Mickey, what are you going to talk about today? Well, I've got a great topic because we're going to talk about your technicians in your shop. And would you even have a shop if you didn't have technicians? No, you wouldn't. So, guess who makes this whole thing go round? Your technicians. Let's talk about them. So, I've got on the call today my good buddy, Jason Bartanen. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Mickey. Good to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you a little bit. It's been a while.
Yes, I know. So I know Jason from a while back, but if you guys don't know him, he's been in the industry. I checked out, I stalked your LinkedIn profile. It said 1996. Is that right?
It's been a long time. I started with iCar in July of 1996. Yep.
Wow. So
Yeah.
he was writing up course material and curriculum for iCar for a bazillion years, and then has done a lot of other things in the industry. I've seen you at a lot of events, so very involved and a lot of knowledge in that little brain of yours over there. So I'm gonna pick it today if you're all good.
Absolutely.
So I know your passion is because you really know vehicle repair down to the nitty gritty. I mean, like you are deep in it, right? Like that's where you love, that's what you thrive on, that's your thing. Am I
Yep.
totally off base here?
No, you're not. It's the vehicle technology, and I'm looking through OEM procedures every day, and I've got a thirst for knowledge, and I love learning about proper repairs and what the vehicle makers are saying, and new tools and equipment and products, and yeah, it's I love the technology aspect of it.
Yeah. And I was even speaking with, backtrack a little bit. So, our industry is typically not attractive for kids in high school. As we know, they're pulling out the technical programs. I mean, even welding, wood shop, things like that. Home ec, like who has home ec? I was telling my husband the other day, isn't it weird? Like they don't even teach girls like how to sew on a button or, like we just don't have basic skills anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's all been taken out of our public school system. And it's really a shame. And a big part of it is I place responsibility on our own industry for not
Mhm.
making our own selves attractive as it should
Yeah.
be, and helping to educate these schools and therefore the students of what a great industry this can be.
Sure.
So I feel like, yeah, we've got this technician shortage, and I feel like a lot of it goes back to that of we're not very attractive.
Yeah.
But also, one thing I think we're going to get in today is how can we support our technicians that we do have for them to be able to do the best job that they can do, because they're just like you. They love the technology piece of it. They are inherent learners. They just love the hands-on aspect. And maybe they weren't the best in school and at test taking, but man, are they fantastic when it comes to building and putting things together. Isn't that a huge portion of our population? And we're like
Yeah.
missing them.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a bit of a pet peeve of mine. It's I see like industries like ours like trying to promote technical education, and we do things like say like, well, not everybody was born to be a doctor or a lawyer. Like we're immediately like putting ourselves like down a step, and that
Right.
I find that kind of offensive, and I wish we'd kind of flip that whole table and kind of go like, not everybody has the skills and talent to work on cars or to do electrical work or to do
Yes.
like who at what point in history did we decide like that math and English are like what separates the best from like why isn't it the people that can sculpt and can paint and can do things with their
Right.
hands, like they're the ones that make the world go round, right? Like everything that's
Absolutely.
built is built by the people that work with their hands for a living, And yeah, there's
Yeah.
some, math and engineering, and behind a lot of that. But still, I said, even when we tried to promote technical education and hands-on jobs, we start off by saying like, hey, not everybody's cool enough to go to college. Like, no, not
Yeah.
everybody's cool enough to go to technical college for a couple of
Yeah.
years because they don't have the skills.
Right. Exactly. I am 100% in agreement. And it's mind-boggling to me because we've got this whole population of this next generation coming up and they're like lost on what do they do? They seem like they're floating.
Yeah.
And this is such a great skill set. But I think we can help ourselves out by assisting the technicians that we have to then for them to have it be more of a lucrative career because like again going back like our painters, we know painters in a body shop can make bread, like they make
Sure.
bank. Who would ever think, like you just wouldn't think, you wouldn't know, you don't know
Yeah.
what you don't know. But painters will go around and they'll brag about how much money they make and
Sure.
then and they're like and everybody's like wait what, I want to paint cars. I feel like that's the situation with like a technician. Like once we're able to support our technicians, then they can start bragging about the
Yeah.
jobs that they do. And I don't feel like they're feeling, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm just totally throwing something out there that they're not even
No.
feeling the pride.
No, I think you're right. The other thing I think about is collision repair diagnostics, right? Like every shop out there is trying to figure out what are we gonna do with ADAS? What are we gonna, like
Yeah.
everyone's still talking about it. I've been talking about it for
Right.
15 years, but it's the conversation is still going on about what are we going to do for ADAS in our shop? And then I think about again these young technicians, they were the digital natives that were born with a tablet in one hand and a phone in the other. Like,
Yeah.
why aren't we reaching out to them and getting them into our industry? Like, who better to do this work? The collision, whether it's just ADAS, whether it's the all collision repair diagnostics and electrical and troubleshooting, like who better to do it than the digital natives that are out there? But we don't think about that as shop owners, I think, and the schools even. I think about a lot of the instructors that I know, like they're closer to my age than they are to my kids' age, right?
Yeah.
And so like they're not comfortable in that world either. And so we don't even promote enough of that collision repair diagnostics in the schools to prepare them for what could be an incredibly lucrative career in the industry. And I've
Yeah.
been trying to preach that for a long time too. And people just kind of go like, I don't get it. And so they get nervous about it and they just kind of quiet down a little bit about it and then don't promote it as much.
Yeah, it's a lack of exposure, right? Like they don't even know it's a possibility and lucrative because they don't even know about it.
Yeah.
You know, what's something that's interesting is I was talking with Kevin Wolf the other day of Leaders Way, I think the name of his company is. He's up in Canada, and he was sharing with me a story that I thought was really interesting that kind of parallels to what we're going to talk about today. So Walmart and Costco were looking at their basically their ability to keep employees. And so
Mhm.
they looked to see how many they had lost over the previous year. I think it was a year, and I may have that wrong, but whatever. So it was the percentage of employees that they had lost over that year. Well, Walmart had 70% turnover. 70% of their employees had left for whatever reason. That's massive.
Wow.
But
That is massive.
Costco, kind of similar business models, Costco lost 7%.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think and basically what we were talking about is how it comes down to culture and how are we caring for the people in our
Yeah.
businesses.
Yeah.
And I think we get so busy in our shops. Me being a former shop owner, I will speak from my own personal experience and repent. We get so busy doing what we're doing. We take care of our people to some degree, but we forget some of the things like how can we support our, like in this case, talking with you today about techs,
Yeah.
how can we support our technicians to keep them because they want to feel like they're continuing to move forward, continuing to be supportive. When we have disgruntled and frustrated people, they go elsewhere. And there's other ways that we can support all of our people with culture and that kind of thing. But I feel like it's really applicable to what we're talking about today of how can we really speak to them and what they need, not what we think they need.
Right. Yeah, you started this off with exactly my sentiment. The reason that you and I have had, the careers that we've had are because of the men and women that fix cars every day.
Right.
The technicians that are out there. I was at SEMA last week and talking with tool and equipment and product makers, vehicle makers, everybody in that building was there because of the people that fix cars every day.
Right.
The technicians aren't there. They're not around, at the trade shows. They're not at these different events. They're back home working.
Yeah.
And so we have not, again, the people, and that's what I'm trying to, do as a technician advocate is really support the technicians. And it's been a challenge. It's frustrating for them, and we don't give them the resources, and we don't treat them with the amount of respect I think that we should in a lot of cases, and we don't do enough for them. But again, they're the reasons that all of us can prosper and be afforded the opportunities that we've had are again
Yes.
because of those technicians.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the biggest pain points. So this is going to help out managers and owners because oftentimes well, in life in general, we look at life through our own glasses, through our own perspective. So you have an opportunity to help all of us look at things through a technician's perspective.
Yeah.
What do you feel like uh, as a technician, what are the things, I guess the best question is, what are the things that they are missing most that would move the needle most if we could support them in A, B, or C areas?
Yeah, it's so there's it's a to repair a vehicle properly, we need to have the skills, obviously. We need to
Right.
have the education, the tools, the resources. And if any of those parts are missing, then we can't do the best job that we possibly can. And I think, I think about the skills. There's places to get skills, and the older technicians have built their skills over the years, and the younger technicians are kind of working on their skills, and that kind of takes time and just practice and continue to work at it. I don't think we provide the technicians necessarily with the right tools all the time,
Mm.
whether that be a specific tool or the right tool for the job. The resources as far as the information that goes, and they might have the skill set to do it, but we don't give them the knowledge to do it by not giving them the proper, whether it's access to the OEM procedures, whether that's better training on the tools, equipment, products that they're working on. And then again, it's a combination of different things. But without any of them, I remember we always do and I'm sure you've seen the stool example, right? We got a three-legged stool and we pull
Yes.
one leg out, and that's the same thing. That works because it's reality, right? If you don't have the
Yeah.
necessary information, you don't have the proper tools and the proper training, the proper skills, like it's impossible to repair the vehicle properly. And all that has to align on each and every job in order for us to be successful. And I just don't know that the industry has done a really good job of supporting the technicians in all those
Mm.
different areas. We give them a pat on the back and buy them a piece of equipment every now and again and have a nice lunch for them. And, but rarely do we compliment them and provide the coaching and really kind of tailor their education to what they really need.
Yeah.
We just kind of drive them into like, well, hey, you got to go to this class, or you got to go to this trainer, or you got to go to this seminar. And I don't know that that approach is very effective. And then I think because we don't treat them the way that I think that we'd like to see them treated, that's why they take their toolbox down the road for another 25 cents an hour. And I think if we just provided them with more opportunities to be successful and some, recognition, whether that's one-on-one recognition or, organization-wide recognition, depending on what that technician is looking for, little things like that go a long, long way, I think.
Mm. Yeah. As you're talking, it's reminding me, I've been reading a ton of books lately. I recently had surgery and had a lot of downtime. The beauty of it is I was able to do a lot of reading, which was cool. And one thing I kept coming up for me was purpose and how people find purpose in their work and how meaningful that is. And they
Yeah.
want to find that fulfillment in their job. We're just hardwired that way.
Yep.
And as you're talking, it just really makes me think back on all the different things that I've read, how these technicians have found a purpose in their work. And if we break it down and we remind, and I think this is good to remind everybody why we do what we do. We're repairing somebody's vehicle safely and properly because you're going to put you or yourself, that person or that family back in that car. I mean,
Yep.
so we want to do it right. And there's a purpose, right? Like there's
Yeah.
just this fulfillment that comes out of it. And then I think as a culture, as business owners and managers, when we're not giving our technicians, who are really the backbone of the industry, giving them, like you're saying, the tools, whether that be actual hard physical tools or training or whatnot, we start to leak out that purpose and that drive and that desire. And like you said, that's when they find themselves looking somewhere else for an extra 25 cents an hour
Yeah.
because it's not the big pay raise. They're looking for that fulfillment.
Yeah.
And maybe they like the people they work with, they like working with you, but if we're not there to support them in a way that we need to be that they need to be supported, then we're missing the mark. And I feel like we do that in general as business owners and managers. We think we know what the mark is, but however we're going about it, we're missing it. And I think this is one of those things that it's not like managers and owners are like, we don't want to support our techs.
Right. Right.
It's like they're missing it. They have good intentions, but they're missing it. And I think what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is they need to reevaluate, making sure there's proper tools. They need to reevaluate that they're giving them attaboys on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be in front of everybody, but it could
Sure.
be.
Yeah.
They need to make sure that they're getting training and access to training and the procedures. Because when I talk to technicians, when I'm out at things and they do bring their teams there, I'll ask them, like, what do you love most about your job? What do you like least about your job? What they typically like least about their job is when they're floundering and they're frustrated
Yeah.
and they're just trying to wing it. And
Yep.
yeah, me too. I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's that support just historically hasn't been there. And I think, as owners and managers and leaders of organizations, we kind of get wrapped up in like our own, why are we doing it? And
Right.
I think we tend to forget about, the people that are working on the cars for us. And that purpose is, I love the purpose part of it because that's again, that's speaking to me and kind of what I'm trying to do right now from a
Yeah.
purpose standpoint. But yeah, it's like I said, nobody wants to do a bad job, right? Nobody wants to not
Right.
support their employees. But I think we don't think about it from the technician perspective, and back to kind of the younger technician too. The the technician, the makeup of the age demographics, if you will,
Mhm.
has changed, right? And we and
True.
I hear a lot of people, the younger generation are lazy or they're this or they're that. Like again, not an issue I want to go into if you already have that perception of me.
Right.
It's just I've got a different purpose. Like what I want to do is different than what you did as an owner manager. Like we're not the same person, right? You're older than me. You've got a different background or whatever that might be. I've got a different purpose, and I think if as a leader of an organization, if we can cater to the purpose of our employees rather than putting ourselves first and trying to cater to our purpose. If we cater to the employees and the technicians that are repairing the vehicles, our purpose is going to get served eventually anyways because we're going to have happier employees that are repairing vehicles properly. They've got the right tools, the right equipment. I think the turnover goes down, the turnout certainly goes down, and now I think the more we can align with what they need and give them a place that they like working and they're comfortable with, that ultimately helps us as a shop owner manager to accomplish what we want to.
Absolutely. Yeah, very well said. Well, and I think that leads us into, I want to talk about what that passion project of yours has been, because we didn't get into this in the beginning, but Jason's been working on some different things in the background. And one of those things is called Back Bay. And I love the concept of it. Jason and I talked a little while ago about it. And then, life was lifing. But here we are back talking about it again. And I feel like I want to share, this isn't a sales thing, and this may not be the right fit for you. You might not feel like you want to do something like this, but I encourage everybody listening, as always, with every podcast, to start expanding our perception, our perspective on things, because there's a lot of great opportunities out there to be better and help our teams be better. And
Mhm.
this is one of those things I'd like to put out for you guys to check it out, see if this is something you're interested in. And even if it's not, to start on that thought process of how can I provide my technicians more of these types of things. So, Jason, can you tell us about back bay and what now we know the thought process behind
Yeah.
it. We
Yeah.
know you have a
Yeah.
desire to help the techs. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what it is and how it helps those techs.
Yeah, so it's a couple of different things, but as you mentioned, it's about supporting the technicians. As we talked about, not having the necessary tools and the resources to be effective on the job. Um, I think about a technician that's at a vehicle, right? And they've got a problem. Like I'm stuck. What do I do now, right? I've got the procedure, right? And I've got the right equipment and I know how to kind of use it, but like something's not connecting with me, right? Like I don't know how to use this product or why won't this adhesive stick or why aren't these welds hold or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we turn to the person in the next stall, hey Mickey, can you come over here and take a look at this for me, and then
Yeah.
at best, I'm going to get probably incomplete information. Like I'm going to get your opinion about
Right.
that. Or we turn to social media, right? Hey, you know what? I'm going to go on Collision Repair Technicians United and ask a question there. Well, then,
Yeah.
that just opens the floodgates for, you don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't be
Judgment.
fixing cars, the
Yes.
judgment part of it,
Yeah.
and again, at best, at the absolute best, you can get incomplete information. You're going to get
True.
people's opinions. When I first launched Collision Pro Assist and started building Back Bay, what I wanted to do was, and what I am doing now, is connecting technicians directly with the people that I've worked with in the industry, from tool, equipment, product makers, vehicle manufacturers. So if I go back to my days at iCar, so as you mentioned, I was at iCar for a long time, 1996. I was there for 23 years. I served as a technical writer there, developing curriculum. I eventually led the technical development. So all the video and photography and courses were kind of my responsibility to kind of manage and navigate through those things. At the same time, I was building tool, equipment, product maker relationships with product engineers, with the people that design the equipment, with the vehicle manufacturers that write the procedures or train on the procedures. And
Wow.
so I started building this massive portfolio of true subject matter experts, right? That
Yeah.
they're the ones that write the SOPs for 3M or
Yeah.
for Fuse or whomever. So that kind of led to the launch of the iCar Repairability Technical Support Portal, RTS, the RTS website, and Ask iCar. And Ask iCar was a way, and we had called them tech inquiries when I first started working at iCar, but that kind of turned into Ask iCar again as a resource for technicians to go like, hey, is there a section procedure? What's the material makeup? And we were fairly limited, and I think they still are today, in kind of what they can share as far as, yes, there's a procedure, no, there's not a procedure. Not a lot of conversation going back and forth,
Right.
just kind of a black or white kind of direction, like here's where you can find that. So then I went, after 23 years at iCar, I went to Collision Hub and I spent 6 years there. And we had a service called Pick a Tech, which allowed technicians to actually just text a question. So they could text a question, it would come to me, I do the research, I reply back to them. But it was always a one-on-one conversation.
Right.
And at times I'd get a question like, you know what, I don't know the answer to this, but hey, you know what? Let me call 3M because I can call Sean and Ryan at 3M because I have their phone number. The technician doesn't, but you know what? I can connect with them.
Yeah.
And so I would reach out to them. They'd give me the answer. And again, I would text the answer back. But again, it was still just between Mickey and Jason and a third person that answered the question. And
Right.
again, Mickey still doesn't know those people. She just got the answer she needed.
Right.
And so when I left Collision Hub and launched Collision Pro Assist and Back Bay, my goal in Back Bay is to start connecting technicians for the first time ever directly with the people that I work with. So Back Bay is a private Discord server. It's a monthly subscription fee where technicians, owners, managers, whoever the members are, can come in there and ask a question. And the majority of times, I'll answer the question. Right? I'll do the research. I'll find
Right.
it. I'll say, you know what? Well, again, we'll have a conversation that everybody can see, so people can see the conversation. It's truly a support area. It's a community support area. I'm not going like, you know what? You're
Ah,
simply fixing this car, right? Like
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's not the goal. This is to lift technicians up and to support technicians. So I'll answer a lot of those questions on my own, but from time to time, again, there might be a question that I don't know. Well, now the technician can say, hey, at 3M, I'm using this product. I'm having troubles with it. And then Ryan from 3M, who's in Back Bay, gets a notification, and now Ryan can chime in and say like, "Hey, well, here's what you're doing wrong," or "There's been an update to the product sheet," or like again, have that conversation and not just give them the answer, but truly educate them along the way. And what I've come to learn is because they are proactively asking a question, They're more apt to listen to the answer. The
Mm.
comprehension or the communication goes up, the engagement goes up, the retention goes up.
Mm.
And so because it's a proactive microlearning experience rather than, trying to take everything that we know about a topic and kind of jam it into a course and say like, here's everything you need to know about adhesive bonding or plastic repair or
Right.
spot welding or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just like this one thing right now isn't working. That's all I need to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need to know the history of plastics to repair the plastic repair.
Yeah.
I need to know why isn't this sticking right now. So if I can get that answer from a 3M or a Fuser or a SEM or a Kent, whoever my product manufacturer is, again, now I've had a positive experience with again the person that developed the SOP that trains on it or whatever, and now my success of that goes up, and now I've learned something. So next time, I'm more
Mm.
apt to do it the proper way. And so I've been building out this back bay to include a list of tool, equipment, product makers. I've got some vehicle makers that are in back bay, and I've got some other vehicle manufacturers that aren't in the system but continue to support me, externally.
Right.
It's to get approvals at an OEM to get into
Yes.
something
Yeah.
like that
Oh gosh.
is a challenge, of course.
Yes.
But still, they're responsive when I say, "Hey, can you help me with this question?" We just had an example of that my nephew and I we do a little podcast that we talked about last night about
Nice.
a recent Dodge Durango issue that again there was no answer for, but I was able to reach out to my contact at Stellantis and then get an answer for the shop, and now that's been shared with everybody that's in Backbase so that if anybody else runs into that issue, it's now posted in there so they can resolve it. So again, even
Awesome.
though they're not necessarily in there, they're kind of in there, through me, if you will,
Yes. Yes.
to support that. And so I've got these different channels for tool, equipment, product makers, vehicle manufacturers, and I'm getting more and more input from these people. Again, they're just like us too, right? The reason that they've got jobs are because of the men and women that fix cars every
Yeah.
single day, and they've been incredibly receptive. They've been incredibly supportive and want to get involved and spread the word. And then I took it a step further and I thought about, a younger technician. I'm in Green Bay, Wisconsin, so if I start heading north of here, I got some pretty small towns and they've
Yeah.
got body shops in those towns. Well, if I go to work for one of those body shops, there's a very good chance that I don't have a 401k plan. I may not even have health insurance. Like, what does my future look like? Where am I going to go in my career? And
Yeah.
so I've sort of put some financial resources in there. So I've talked to Rachel a little bit about,
Mm.
like getting involved and providing some input and, potentially, opening up a potential customer for her as well.
Yeah.
But I want to give these technicians some resources out them in the shop, outside the shop. So I've got a little financial piece in there. I've got
Yeah.
information on, like, how to buy your first home.
Oh wow.
I've talked to Matt. I've got Matt in there and helping out with like,
Awesome.
hey, I want to buy a shop. Like, where do I even start? Like, well, hey, you know what? We've got a resource that's in Back Bay that we can talk to. Mental health and nutrition and then I've also expanded it. I'm giving every career and technical school and college instructor in the country that wants it complimentary access to Back Bay.
Wow, that's awesome.
My dad was an educator. My dad was my high school automotive instructor. He was my Skills USA advisor.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. And so, yeah, my grandfather opened Bartanen's Auto Body in 1939. It's a shop that's still run by my
Holy
cousins
cow.
today. So, these are my people.
Yeah.
And so I want to kind of in honor of my dad, if you will, even give the instructors across the country access to the resource. Now they don't have the level where you can ask questions in there. I know enough for them to know better, and they give them access to all the contacts and that part of it. And they know exactly who they are too, if
Yeah.
they're listening to this. But they can go and they can do the read only. So I've got a Back Bay Pass, and then I've got Back Bay Pro. But the Back Bay Pass access will give every instructor access to all these different resources that, again, I know what a struggle it is. I sit on a couple of advisory committees and I've seen it firsthand, how challenging it is to get every
Mm.
dollar for a program.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to have another cost burden on instructors that are trying to help, again, shape the future of our industry.
Yeah.
So I'm giving them all access to it. And then I'm also giving 1 year access to technical school and college students.
Mm.
So, preferably second year students that are getting a little bit closer to graduating
Yeah.
and getting into the workforce. But again, I want to give them an avenue to continue to learn a little bit in there. And then when they get in the industry, then they can become a subscriber. And if they don't want to become a subscriber, then that tells me that I'm not providing enough support in there. And
Mm.
I want to certainly resolve that because again, it is for technicians. It's driven by technicians. The technicians are kind of curating it as far as like the types of content that I'm just a facilitator. Like I'm just trying
Right.
to connect
Right.
connect technicians with the resources that I have. So if they say, hey, when it's like, what's missing? Well, we need more PPE. Well, we added a PPE channel, so now we can start adding content in there. And so,
Yeah.
all these tool equipment makers, they don't pay to be in there. Their cost of doing business in Back Bay is them supporting the technicians that are using their products.
Awesome.
And the one thing that I've really been trying to focus on when I'm talking to tool equipment product makers is, again, back to, SEMA recently,
Hmm.
there's all these owners and managers walking around. There's a show special on this welder, right?
Right.
And like, you know what? My shop needs a new welder. The techs were telling me they need a new welder. I'm going to buy this welder. And then the welder shows up at the shop, and the distributor who sells 8,000 different products comes in and says, like, here's how you plug it in, and here's the power button. Like, I'll see you guys later, right?
Yeah.
Not always, but I'm just saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I'm pretty broad brush there, but just for the sake
Yes.
of conversation. And then the technicians go and they turn it on, and it doesn't work. And it doesn't meet their needs because they just don't know how to use the equipment
Right.
properly. So they're like, you know what, this thing's a piece of junk. And then they shove it in the corner. The
Yep.
shop's out a bunch of money. The technician's out of a tool that probably works perfectly fine and can help, again, make their lives a little bit easier. And that equipment manufacturer's now got a black eye that they don't even know about because they never hear about it, right?
True.
They just, I'm never buying that equipment again. And so they don't have a repeat customer. Well, if I can connect that technician with the person that made that equipment and then go
Mm.
like, hey, why isn't this working? Well, I got to push this button and then push this button. Oh,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
now they've learned and now they go, now they've got tools that work. It's not sitting in the corner. The has now made a good investment. And again, now that tool equipment manufacturer not only has, an advocate on the shop floor, maybe they kind of start working with them a little bit more closely. And now like they can provide feedback on, hey, if you added this feature, if you added that feature, now you've got a real life, technician that's using that equipment, not just, somebody that built it and tested it, but somebody that's actually using it on a daily basis that can go like, I love it, but if you could just do this, it would make it a lot better.
Yeah.
That equipment manufacturer may have never even thought about that before. So
Right.
it's another way for the technicians to kind of help themselves in the long run by providing a potential avenue to, even offer some input into, a new tool or equipment or design or improvement.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so as you were talking, I was thinking of some questions here. So when somebody's posting a question
Mhm.
about, like, you were talking about, 3M adhesive, whatever the question is that a private conversation, or could you have asked that and then I go in a different shop and now I've got a question about something with 3M and adhesive? Is there like a search function and I can see it? How does
Yep,
that
yep.
work?
It's searchable. So again, if I search for 3M, or if I search for Ford, if I search for Rivet or Weld or whatever, I can search to see everything that's been posted about that.
Okay.
I'm not doing a lot of private threads. I want this to be public. I want people
Yeah.
to get, I want to, because if one person's got a question, chances are hundreds, if not
That's what I'm
thousands of other
thinking.
technicians have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to make it public. Now, some people aren't as comfortable posting that, which I certainly appreciate.
Right.
And so you will see instances where maybe someone sends me an email and eventually I'll copy and paste the email or either just entirety or I'll kind of, put it in quotes, but kind of parse out some of the information that maybe is a
Mm.
little bit more sensitive, if you will. But so I'll post that on their behalf and kind of still
Okay.
have the conversation in there. But yes, it is searchable. We can create threads. So if I go into Stellantis, for example, I can create a thread on a 2025 Ram 1500 or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
we can kind of keep track of it a little bit better that way. But yeah, it's searchable, it's public. I can also create private channels. So I do have some
Okay.
organizations that are in there that have their own private channels. So that we can have, if an MSO or a shop's they want to have their own private channel where they can maybe have some private conversations. I can set those up as well. And like I mentioned, those instructor and student pages or
Yeah.
the access, they have their own channels as well that the industry never sees because they don't have access to them.
Oh,
And then the
interesting.
instructors only see the instructors don't see the student channel, the students don't see the instructor channel. It's all
Mm,
in the same it's all in the same Discord server. It's just that I can limit who goes to which different
access.
channels,
Right.
given different access levels. Yeah.
So, what if you have, because I know from my experience on these Facebook boards, and there's a bunch of them, all these Facebook groups, and God
Yep.
forbid you ask a question that somebody thinks, is a dumb question. Or sometimes there's questions you're like, oh boy, this person's fixing cars, like, ha, ha, ha. That happens, right? And they will get eaten
Yep.
alive on these,
Yep.
in some of these Facebook groups. So, I
Yep.
would assume, speaking on behalf of technicians out there, What about those that are hesitant because they don't want to get that feedback because they know other people are going to see it? How do you kind of combat that?
Yeah, so a couple things. So this is not a technician to technician portal. I mean, there's an area for tech. I've got a tech to tech area in there.
Okay.
But when somebody asks a question about a vehicle, a tool, equipment, a process, I don't want other technicians chiming in. This is not opinions of other technicians.
Right.
This is powered by professionals. This is, again, if it's a 3M question, I want, I'm going to answer it on, with my research. I'm going to have 3M answer it, or ProSpot
Right.
or the vehicle manufacturer. So it's not an old school forum where anybody can, now people can chime in. I certainly don't want that, and I've got it in my kind of my expectations, my outline
Right.
when you go through. I don't want technicians chiming in. Where I do want technicians chiming in is, if the procedure's got 8 steps and step 3, like you have to like access this like hidden fastener, like I do want a technician to be able to go like, what you got to do is you got to lay on your back and kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
and tilt your head and like
Right.
those kinds of things. Yes, I want the technician to share that, but I don't want a technician to say like, well, this is what I would do, or this is what I've done in the past.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
That's not the intent of it.
Right.
The other thing is I'm not, this is a support community. And I'm not going to tolerate, that type of harassment.
Right.
And whether they're a subscriber or not, if that starts to take place, they're not going to be welcome anymore.
Yeah.
I just, it doesn't do any good, right? Like if
Agreed.
somebody has a question and they want to know the answer, and they finally get the guts to kind of step up and say, you know what, I'm going to ask this question. And then we belittle them, like to what end? Like for
Right.
what's the purpose of doing
Yeah.
that? Like, you know
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
boy, I sure showed Nikki that she shouldn't be fixing cars. Like whoop-de-doo. Like that doesn't help the car. And you said like, well, they're out there repairing cars, like, well, you know what? They're still gonna be repairing cars whether they
Yeah.
ask the question or not. So
Exactly.
I would rather them ask the question and then find the answer. And the other thing that I've been doing, and I'm actually beta testing it right now with a young technician in Northern Illinois. I owe him a callback on a few things. But so where the technician realized, you know what, I've got a gap in this area. Like I'm not strong in this particular topic.
Mm,
Can you help me get some resources? And so what I'm
mm,
doing is, that technician and I had a conversation along with his owner and the shop manager. So well, here's what I need some help with. So I take that information, then I start looking for resources that are going to help that technician. I'm not going to develop, curriculum tailored to that individual technician, but I
right.
can connect them with these tool equipment product makers. Go like, you know what, you're looking for information on this particular topic. Well, that organization happens to have a training program on the
Mm,
exact thing that you're looking for, or watch
right.
this YouTube video, or read this article, or
Yeah.
take a look at this product sheet I found, or whatever that might be.
Yep.
But I really want to tailor that education to each individual technician, because no two technicians have the same training needs.
Yes.
And no two technicians have the same challenges on a daily
Right.
basis. And we've always try to wedge them into the same courses or training. And through Back Bay and through this kind of one-on-one coaching that I'm doing, we can really tailor it to what that individual technician needs, and answer the questions that they most need help with.
Yeah, that's so cool. So when it comes to the membership that it's like a monthly membership, I would assume, do you
Yep.
find that it's the owners of the shop that are paying for this or technicians actually signing up for this themselves? What does
Yeah,
that
so
look like?
it's a combination, so I've
Okay.
got some technicians that are in there that, they would love their owners to support them, but they don't, and so
Mhm.
they're reaching in their pockets for it. Again, obviously, I would love, the owners to make that investment in their technicians.
Yeah.
For $400 a year, you can be a part of Back Bay and get your technicians access to this wealth of resources and videos, and in the shop and outside the shop, and we're going to do some live events. We're going to have some kind of like, some happy hours, if you will, where we bring in subject matter expert from a tool equipment product maker, and we can have the technicians can ask again like, hey, let's just talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
have a conversation, a real world conversation. Do some demonstrations and go like, well, hey, I always have a problem with this. Well, again, who better to tell you than the person that trains on that? And
Yeah.
so kind of trying to tailor it to those
Yeah.
technicians.
So you were saying it's $400 per year. That's your membership cost
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, so $40 a month or $400 a year
Okay.
for the full access to asking questions, getting answers, watching videos, down like whatever's in there, you got full access. And then for $15 a month is kind of my read-only access.
Okay.
So almost like almost like a monthly newsletter, if you will, but it's a daily newsletter, I should say, because I'm trying to add new content each and every day, whether that's a video, whether that's an article, whether that's a TSB that I found. So as I'm going throughout my day doing research on things, I stumble upon things all the time, and I try to put those in there and then share information and synopsis of that. And again, that's the level that I'm giving the schools and those students, just that
Right.
read-only access. But I want a way to still reach people. And honestly, the more people I get in there, my goal would be to continue to bring that price down as we get more and
Mhm.
more people in there. I don't want it to be a burden on anybody. I want the
Right.
industry this. I want the industry to support the men and women that fix cars.
Yeah.
That have given us these opportunities.
Yeah.
That's what I want it to ultimately be. And I've got a couple of different things in the works right now to make that even easier moving forward. Haven't quite closed those deals out yet, but soon I'm hopeful that we'll have a lot of technicians in there on a regular basis. And but honestly, I want to be a resource and I want to help the technicians and give them opportunities that you and I have been afforded in our careers.
Yeah.
I've got big dreams. I started kind of joking about it in the beginning, but like we're gonna have a technician cruise someday, right? Like
Yeah.
give these technicians an opportunity to do something and get out of the
Right?
shop and do something cool like that. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but at least I want to do more, kind of technician focused events. And kind of another thing that kind of led me up to this is again, as I'm at all these, national and international conferences and whether, state, regional, local, national, international trade
Yeah.
shows, the technicians aren't in the audience.
Right.
They're not there. I watched a lot of the iCar, the collision repair stage presentations at SEMA recently, right? They've
Yep.
got great speakers there talking
Yep.
about things that are relevant to technicians, but there's no technicians
I
in the
know.
audience.
I think
And
that all the
so,
time.
you
The
know,
people
and
that need to
so
be hearing this aren't even here.
and that's what I want to do is I want to connect those technicians with those resources, with that expertise, with all
Yeah.
that great information, and they can pick up little things here and there, or really kind of dive into it and get into it. But yeah, it's that's I want it to grow and I want it to be affordable, and I think it is pretty affordable from compared to a lot of the other things that are out there. And
Yeah.
right now it's just me. I'd certainly love to as we get 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 technicians in there. Need to bring some additional people on to help support that. We just need to be able to make that work financially for to support it. But again, I would love to keep lowering that price down as much as we can to continue to have a successful business certainly on
Yeah.
my end, but get more technicians, the resources that they need, the connections that they need, and again, ultimately make sure that their owners and managers have a successful business because we're repairing cars properly.
Yeah. Well, and so question about the pricing for the $40 a month or $400 a year. Is that for all technicians in the shop or is that per technician?
That's a per technician because it's a Discord.
They
Discord is an
need their own
individual user.
login.
Now,
Yeah.
if a shop's got one person that's doing it and they're logging in, so be it, right? I mean, I get that
True.
that's going to
Yeah. Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, I love again for the price that it is. I think every technician should be in there and using it.
Yeah.
But I as long as the information is getting to the technicians as a resource and they're getting what they need to repair the vehicles properly. Again, if it's one spokesperson at a shop, I'm not going to sweat it for sure.
Well, I think the price point is incredible, actually. I don't know how you can afford to do it for so inexpensively, honestly, because I know it's a lot of man hours on your end and it's so valuable. I think the value for what you're paying is just like a no-brainer. So, I don't understand why anybody would learn about this and say no. Like, I genuinely am like, I just feel like it's just such an easy yes. I throw out more vegetables that we don't ever cook or
Right.
eat
Right.
that equal way more than $40 a month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like this is something that this is the bottleneck. This is one of the big pain points for our technicians. And when we're talking about culture, how do we support our people? How do we make them feel valued and valuable? These are the types of resources that would really assist them.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was another book I was reading was, a prayer on how do I, this is totally random, but it's going to make sense in a second. How do I It was a prayer of how do I love my children in a way that they feel loved? Because as parents, we know we love our children. Yet oftentimes our children are like, my parents don't love us. They don't even like me. So it's like, how do we think that we're loving them? We think we're showing them love, but they are not feeling it. And
Yep.
I feel like this, as weird as that may sound, again, Mickey and all of our books she's been reading, this is one of those things. How do you care about, because we love our people. I know as a shop owner, I loved my people. They were my
Yeah.
family. So
Yeah.
how do I let them feel that care for them? And it's not just telling them all the time, like, oh, so thank you so much for all your hard work. Like, these are ways that they actually feel that we care. It's not just telling them that we care. These are the types of things that we do that actually make them feel it from us. And that's what's most important. Not that we think we're putting it out, but that they're receiving it. And
Yeah.
so I think this tool is invaluable. I think it helps build the culture that so many shops are missing and trying to build. These are the types of things. And this is just technician specific, but again, so important. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is fantastic. So I was excited to have you on because I feel like people need to know about this.
Yeah, it's I'm still in my infancy. It's been, it's only been a few months since I launched, and honestly, I haven't really done a ton of outreach to shops and technicians because
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we had the people waiting virtually in the back bay ready to go.
Right.
So that's why I've been adding, the 3Ms and the Pro Spots and the fusers and the
Yes.
Goliath carts and everybody, to make sure that they didn't come to an empty portal. Like, well, there's
Yeah.
nothing here for me, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really haven't even, I've just begun kind of doing a little bit more technician outreach and doing a little bit more shop outreach and trying to talk to some more shop owners. It's been the first few months we're really kind of building that back end part of it.
Yeah.
And now I'm ready to start, getting more. Now that I've got a lot of content in there and I've got a lot of videos and I've got a handful of technicians that are in there. I've had some people really help me kind of, guide me and shape things. Again, I think I know what needs to go in there, but only the men and women that are working on cars every day, they're the only ones that really know what they need on a
That's
daily
it.
basis.
Yep.
And so I've got them in there to help kind of coach and guide me, and they'll continue to provide support. And again, as more people come in there, and even like I offer a 30-day free trial of
Mm.
this. So even people that are coming in on a 30-day free trial, they get full access to the Back Bay
Mm.
Pro level,
Wow.
so they can ask questions as well. So again, if they see something like, hey, you know what, I was expecting to see this in here, well, we
Mm.
can add it. I'm not going to add shop management stuff in there. I'm not going to add
Right.
estimating stuff in there. And
Right.
this is designed for the technician.
Yes.
They're who I'm trying to cater to in here. And so there's other resources for estimating and shop management and other
Yeah.
tools out there. I think there's plenty of that out there, more
Yeah.
than enough to go around on that. This is for technicians, and so
Yeah.
their voices are what matters in Back Bay. And I'm trying to build it for them and focus on their needs.
Yeah. So cool. Well, if you're listening to this, and I hope that, like I said, even if you're like, man, maybe this program isn't for me. Well, I don't know how you could think that. But if you do, okay, that's all right. But just be thinking about ways that you can support your technicians differently and show them your care and support for them differently than you may be doing now. And for those of you who are thinking, wow, I at least want to give it the free trial. I want to talk with Jason, or forget the free trial. I want all in. You can get more information at collisionproassist.com. And the
Yep.
link will be in the description. You can also email Jason if you have questions or just want to chat a little bit. And that's Jason at collisionproassist.com. And that again is in the description. So we'll kind of wrap it up. I feel like we gave them a good, I feel like when you and I spoke a couple months ago and you were just getting this started, I mean, even from then, it's what we're talking about right now. It's even more robust, and that's in such a short time. So I'm sure
Yeah.
that what you have now is amazing. It's super helpful. And where it's going to be when I talk to you again in another few months, 6 months,
Yeah.
year, whatever, it's going to be like next level. So it's really
Yeah.
exciting.
No, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. And one thing I forgot to mention, I can't believe I forgot to mention this because
Oh,
this is one of the coolest things I think that are in there.
okay.
A couple things are cool. One, I've organically I've watched technicians get introduced to new tools and product and equipment. Yeah,
Mm,
I had a case where I had a equipment manufacturer, a product manufacturer in there, something that I ran into that I thought was cool. I got that company involved in Back Bay, and
yeah.
like I didn't do anything to prompt it. I had a technician start asking questions of this equipment provider just organically, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah.
The other thing I've got in there, and I can do this for up to 200 languages, but right now I just have a Spanish channel. Spanish technicians can come in there and ask a question in a Spanish channel. It will put it into
Love
an
that.
English, it'll put it into an English channel for me. I can watch, look at the question, do my research, answer the question in English, and it puts it back into that Spanish channel. I can do that for
That
Spanish,
is amazing.
Canadian, French Canadian, Japanese, English, Portuguese,
Yeah.
whatever, Polish, Russian,
I
whatever
can't believe
language.
I didn't
So
ask that because that
yeah.
is one of the issues also is A, there's no support and there's no support. I mean, I'm in Southern California, so we have a lot of people here from Mexico and
Yep.
they don't speak much English and
Yep.
everything's in English. So now what
Yep.
do they do?
Yep.
So thank you for
Yeah.
mentioning that. That's
Yeah. No.
hugely
No,
valuable.
it is. It's so cool. That was when I found that because I thought like, well, what can I use? I use a lot of AI to kind of like help me navigate to kind of build out and like
Right.
find tools and resources for it. And so I just did a research one day and you're like, yeah, here's the bot that you need in
Amazing.
Discord for it. And it's like, and I know there's going to be some naysayers like, well, there's different dialects. You know
Yeah,
what?
right, right.
Can I section a lower rail? Like I don't care what, that's pretty straightforward, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
can kind of hash through that. Now, if it gets into be, several, we might lose a little bit of stuff like there, but it will
Yeah.
still get them the answer they're
The
looking for.
gist.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's so cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Jason, for coming on. I hope everybody listening that's challenged you a little bit to think a little outside the box. There are resources out there to help you, to help your teams. I mean, really, we're all in this together to help the collision industry be better as a whole and to help give you guys actionable steps and actionable tools. You can turn this podcast off today and go do it and put it in place. And I hope we've done that today. But thanks again, Jason. And I love the
No, thank
colors,
you.
the pink and gray. It's the Mickey Woods marketing color. So, I
That's
love
right.
it.
Well, that's where my vote went for your updated logo. That's what kind of where
Yes.
my vote might went that way.
Right?
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you everybody for listening. If you like this episode, make sure you click that like button. It'll get it out to more people out on YouTube and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those things, you can always follow the podcast and it'll populate for you when a new episode drops. We typically drop a new episode every 2 weeks, so stay tuned for the next one. But thanks again, Jason, and thank you all for joining us. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.